Welcome to Woander. I'm Sean, and in this video I'll be taking you on a virtual tour through my top 10 most beautiful Scottish castles. Get involved in the comments if you think there are ones that I've missed, but let's get started.
First on the list is Kilkerran Castle. Sitting on the edge of Loch Awe in the Argyll region, the first parts of the castle were built in the mid-1400s by the Campbells of Glenorchy and expanded as the clan's power expanded over the 15 and 1600s. The castle is probably one of three of the most photographed castles in Scotland, and I'll let you guess as we go through the video which are the other two. The backdrop to the castle is absolutely stunning, with the imposing mountain behind of Ben Cruachan. You probably can't tell from the footage, but when the castle was built, the lake level was much higher and actually formed an island around the castle. The castle was abandoned in the 1760s after being badly damaged by lightning. And if you visit, you can see that actually one of the towers still rests upside down in the centre of the courtyard as a result of the force of the storm. The castle is now in the care of Historic Environment Scotland, and conservation work continues to this day. Before you plan your visit, make sure you check online and see whether the castle is open for visitors on the dates that you're planning. Next up is Dunvegan Castle, on the Isle of Skye in the far northwest of the country. The castle sits on the west coast of the island, 30 minutes from the idyllic Portree and about an hour from the very recognisable Old Man of Storr mountain range. The castle was first built in the 13th century and is the seat of the chief of Clan MacLeod. The castle we see today is due to a heavy remodelling that was done in the 1800s in the mock medieval style, but even before then it was an imposing structure sitting on the edge of the lake. The castle welcomes visitors from the end of March to mid-October each year, and its interior is well worth a visit to soak in some of the hundreds of years of history. The estate and gardens are now a hub for tourists. You can stay in holiday cottages or a campsite nearby, and during the summer months they even run 25-minute long seal trips to the nearby seal colony. Check out some of these beautiful shots of the neighbours.
This is Illan-Dunan.
And yes, you guessed it, this is probably the most photographed castle in Scotland after Edinburgh Castle. Located in the Western Highlands, it sits at the junction of three different lakes, Loch Duach, Loch Long and Loch Ulsh. It was originally the stronghold of Clan Mackenzie and Clan MacRae. Because of its location, the castle was an important strategic site for both clans' power in the area. During the Scottish Jacobite Rebellion in 1719, the British Navy laid siege to a small group of Jacobite and Spanish forces. The castle was actually bombarded and severely damaged by 3 British Navy ships, and in fear of losing the valuable gunpowder stores, it is said that Rob Roy himself carried out the task of blowing up the stores and destroying the castle.
It remained a ruin until about 1919,
when a member of the MacRae clan fully rebuilt the castle, so the impressive structure you see today is actually only around 100 years old. Next up is Finlarrig Castle. It was built in the early 1600s and sits on the edge of Loch Tay in the Stirling region. This is in fact another castle built by the Campbells of Glenorchy clan and is said to have been visited by Rob Roy MacGregor himself in 1713. The Campbell chief who actually built the castle was known as Black Duncan Campbell, who was the laird at the time and was known for his liking of castles, having built at least another 3,
including Kilkerran Castle.
More of a ruin than a castle today, it creates a unique atmosphere, but be very, very careful as the remaining stonework is in such bad condition.
And you definitely don't want to join Black Duncan Campbell in being buried here. Before we dive into number 5, I want to introduce you to our partner and friend Rob Carr, who owns and operates Rob Carr Tours. He hasn't sponsored this video, but we thought that if it makes you want to visit Scotland soon, Rob is your guy. He loves what he does and is an expert guide for both Edinburgh, the Highlands and the Islands, and he does regular tours to many castles, including the first 4 I've just shown you. Definitely also check out his Instagram for regular content about this wonderful country.
Next up is the very unusually located Castle Stalker.
Sitting on an islet in the absolutely stunning Loch Lyach in the Argyll region,
the castle was originally built in the 1300s, but the structure we see today dates back to the 1440s. That makes it probably one of the oldest and most original castles on this list, and really adds to the effect when you see it in person. It has been known by several different clans over the generations, including both the Stuarts and the Campbells, with the story going that the Campbells took the castle as a result of a drunken bet in 1620 in exchange for a small rowboat. The castle is now owned privately by a member of the Stuart clan, but it is open to the public for limited tours each summer, and you can book those tours on their website. Here is Dunotter Castle. We've already seen some castles located in cool settings on our list, but this one, nestled on the cliff edge south of Aberdeen, is truly special. The remaining buildings in the castle complex date from about the 15th and 16th centuries. Historical writings and other evidence suggest that it was an early Christian site as far back as 400 AD with the arrival of Saint Ninian to Scotland. Dunotter's claim to fame is as the hiding place of the honours of Scotland, the Scottish crown jewels, in 1651 when they were hidden in sacks of wool to prevent the invading Oliver Cromwell and his English armies from taking possession. Dunotter Castle is open to the public daily. The only thing to keep in mind is that it's about a 300-metre walk from the car park, and then there are over 200 concrete steps to get up to the complex itself. Next up is Glamis Castle. This one is in our list as much for its looks as for its incredible history. Located in the region of Angus and house of the Lion family since the 14th century, it is best known as being the castle of Macbeth in the Shakespeare play, as well as having a deep connection to the current British royal family, being the childhood home of the Queen Mother and the birthplace of Princess Margaret. It is even played host to a visit by Mary, Queen of Scots. You can take a guided tour around the castle, and the surrounding gardens are also worth the visit. It also hosts regular events, festivals, and even a local Highland Games. Next up is Midhope Castle, and what it lacks in physical size it makes up for in cult popularity. If you're an Outlander fan, this is the first castle on your list when visiting Scotland. In the TV series, Midhope Castle is known as Lallybroch and is the home place of the title character Jamie Fraser. Located very close to Edinburgh city centre, so it's perfect for a day trip, and there are many Outlander tours you can choose from. Midhope Castle is actually part of the wider Hoptoun estate, and the castle itself dates back to the 15th century. Unfortunately, unlike the TV show, the inside of the castle is derelict, so a visit might not be as important to you if you're not a huge Outlander fan. Ninth on our list is Inverera Castle, nestled on the shore of Loch Fyne, again in the Argyll region. The original castle dates back to the 1400s, but what we see today was inspired by the architect Van Brugge, the creator of Blenheim Palace in London. You can definitely see the similarities between the two buildings, and in fact the only reason for the pointed turrets and the third floor is because of an unfortunate fire in 1877. The interior of the castle is beautiful and also houses a collection of more than 1,300 ancient weapons, from things like pikes to muskets and swords. The castle gardens and the overall estate offer a huge amount of activities and also accommodation. If you're a TV buff, the castle may look very familiar, as was the setting for a Scottish themed episode of Downton Abbey. We couldn't do a top 10 of Scottish castles without mentioning the one and only Edinburgh Castle. Perched on an extinct volcano high above the city centre and the Grassmarket areas, the castle is probably Edinburgh and Scotland's most popular tourist attraction. So let me share some facts you may not know about the castle itself. It is actually the most attacked place in the United Kingdom's history. Historians have recorded 23 attempts to take the castle, starting from 1296. Famous attempts include an attempt by 20 men to scale the castle rock's face, and one that only lasted 30 minutes. And in 1571, a 2-year-long siege known as the Lang Siege was an attempt by English forces to capture Mary, Queen of Scots. The area of Princes Street Gardens and the Waverley train station actually used to be a lake. Back in 1460, King James III created an artificial lake by having the area flooded as a form of defence. And the lake remained all the way until the mid-1700s, when plans were made to build Edinburgh's new town in the area. The Scottish crown jewels, the honours of Scotland that I mentioned earlier, were actually lost for over 100 years in the castle and were only rediscovered in 1818 by the famous writer Sir Walter Scott. One of the highlights of any visit to the castle is the medieval gun called Mons Meg, which is one of the best preserved medieval cannons in Europe, and also St. Margaret's Chapel. The chapel is actually the oldest building in the castle complex, dating back to 1130 AD. And there it is, my top 10 favourites. I hope you enjoyed it, and please get involved in the comments if you have questions or feedback on the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to download the Woander app today in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store.